Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's just after 1 p.m. and I'm going to call the 6th meeting of the Planning and Environment Committee meeting to order. Please check the city website for additional meeting detail information. The City of London is situated on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape, and Attawadron. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous people who call this territory home. The City of London is currently home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit today. As representatives of the people in the City of London, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work and live in this territory. The City of London is committed to making every effort to provide alternate formats and communication supports for meetings upon request. To make a request specific to this meeting, please contact pacpec@london.ca or 519-661-2489, extension 2425. At this time, I'll look for any disclosures of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent items. I've had a request from the mayor to pull 2.2. As is normal in our practices, when a consent item is pulled, we deal with it at the bottom of our agenda. In this particular time, the mayor has indicated that he won't be able to stay for the entire meeting. So I would like to look to committee for a motion to allow us to change the order to have 2.2 go after 2.1. Councillor Hillier has made a motion. Councillor Cuddy has seconded. I'll call that vote.
Who made the motion?
What's that?
Who made the motion?
Councillor Hillier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Closing the vote, motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. So going on to 2.1, this is regarding the fourth report of Ecological Community Advisory Committee. We've had a delegation request from Sandy Levin. So I'll look for a motion from the committee to allow that delegation. Councillor Pelosa, seconded by Councillor Cuddy, and we'll call the vote.
I actually need a vote because he's the chair.
The clerk has informed me that we do not need to vote through e-scribe, just a hand vote. So all in favor? Okay.
Good.
He knows that.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Mr. Levin, you have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. Just present the last report of the last ECAC meeting. We have one last request that's on your agenda, page 3, item 5.1. We ask that you make the new ecological reference group more efficient and effective by adding to its terms of reference that you've passed the reviews of environmental impact studies, environmental assessments, infrastructure reviews, subject land status reports, and subwatershed studies. We had a very good discussion at our last meeting with staff and as well with Councillor Pribble, who has regularly attended our meetings over the past few years. And the reasons to add these is that really the items are part of policy implementation, and it provides the data for regular reviews and improvements to the policies. So without that, it makes it difficult, if not impossible, to be able to provide the advice back to staff and council in terms of improving what the policies are. And if you don't include them, there'll be that gap. And the gap would be kind of like the DC reference group, which exists for development charges. It not only works with staff on policies, but it also is involved in the GMIS process. It's involved with master planning studies. So it receives and reviews those, and it receives and reviews the DC. If you don't include these studies with the reference group's terms of reference, you basically would have like a development charges reference group without ever looking at the DC itself. So this completes the loop. It's a continuous improvement process, and we ask you to support the request from your ECAC. It's our last request. I don't even have the blindfold before the firing squad, but I think it'll make things much more efficient and effective on a go-forward basis. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Levin. So I'll put this on the floor for committee. Deputy Mayor.
I'll move we receive the report.
I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Hillier. I'll look for any discussion. Councillor Pelosi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And through you to staff, having heard what the delegation noted in regards to the report for terms of reference, looking for their feedback of it, of if something that's already going to be included or would be of value, and looking to see if a motion would be required or if staff would just take it under advisement as they make that. Thank you.
I'll go staff.
Through your worship, just to be very, very clear, we have a resolution that's before us that council has already approved that just speaks to what this reference group is going to include. It includes review of the official plan, any kind of policies related to that. It doesn't get to the detail of looking at these very technical studies. So based on what we've already been provided with council, that's not what we'd be including in terms of reference. So if it is something that you're wishing to have included, then we should have a resolution to that effect.
Thank you. I'll go with Councillor Pelosi.
Thank you. I see that Deputy Mayor has his hand back up too. I'd be looking to move then that recommendation as it's outlined in 5.1.
So we already have a motion on the floor to receive.
So an amendment to that?
So if you want to make an amendment, is that
Yes.
what you'd like to do? Okay, so the council would like to make an amendment. I'll look for a seconder on the amendment. Councillor Cuddy seconded. So now we have an amendment that we're going to deal with. So I'll look for discussion on the amendment. Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I will not support the amendment at this time. I want to remind colleagues that the governance working group spent a year working on the terms of reference for our advisory committees. I am not, at this point in time, prepared to start expanding that mandate for one particular advisory committee, opening the door for other advisory committees to ask for changes to their mandates, and to just open that piece again. We've seen what happens before with expanding mandates of advisory committees. We end up with multiple advisory committees doing duplication of work. I respect if colleagues want to discuss the terms of reference further at a future governance working group, that might be appropriate. I'm not going to support changing the mandates of an advisory committee on the floor at a standing committee of council after months of work went into adjusting and developing these terms of reference.
I'll look for other speakers. Councillor Purple.
Through the chair to the staff question, based on what we heard from the delegation, is there a benefit, and yes, as the deputy mayor said, it's been a long time that we spent on determining the terms of reference, but having said that, is there an opportunity with this additional terms of reference added to the mandate that will be actually more eyes seeing certain things and potentially making it more effective and efficient for our administration, for your team?
I'll go staff.
Through the chair, and just to be very open with this, currently we have all of these reports going to ECAC, so it wouldn't be much of a change from what we have now. I think some of those benefits that were highlighted previously were possibly more efficient approval timelines if we didn't have this step in the process, because we need to make sure that we have meetings set and scheduled to be able to review these studies on a prompt basis. I'll also just highlight, just for the sake of my team as well, that this was a function that was originally done by the clerk's department as part of their committee and their structure. Now it's being provided to our group, so that'll be additional work we'll be taking on anyway. So if we want to have these additional types of and the timeliness required to be able to move these developments forward as well, if we want to have that in a very efficient process, then we'll likely be using a lot more of our capacity and staff capacity for having these meetings as well. So I would not necessarily say there would be a huge amount of efficiency. There would be, however, much more opportunity to have some of that external input from an environmental perspective, and that's the balance that we really would want to have, and that is important to have in these circumstances. But we do also have very strong staff to be able to review these reports as well.
Councilor Purple.
No more questions right now, thank you.
Thank you. Other committee members or visiting councilors? Councilor Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for recognizing me and allowing me to speak here to the committee. And just following up on the conversation that I've been listening to and staff's response, I wonder if there is a possibility of referring that to the staff working group, the environmental piece. I know the governance working group made a decision on the terms of reference quite a few years ago. So we also have that opportunity of it going back to the governance working group as well. But I would like to encourage the committee to at least move forward with these conversations. You can go two ways, but I would like to encourage the committee to do so.
Okay, we've got an amendment on the floor. If the amendment, let's try to see how we can do this. I mean, at any time, we could approach the working group, governance working group, and without this particular committee's initiative for that, Councillor. So I think well, I'll leave it in committee's hands. Right now, we have amendment on the floor that we're dealing with, but you've heard Councillor Hopkins' input. Councillor Purple.
Chair, is it appropriate if I want to, after these comments, what we heard the delegation, then we heard comments from around the horseshoe and the staff. Is it appropriate to hear the delegation if there is any comments based on what has been heard? Can I go back to the delegation or no?
No, he's had a chance, right? Okay, any other comments on the amendment? I'll ask the vice chair to take the chair, please. I'd just like to make a few small comments here.
I will take the chair and recognize Councillor Lehman.
Thank you. So I can't support this amendment. I appreciate Mr. Levin's concern for sure. Mr. Levin has been a terrific member of the Ecological Community Advisory Committee, and I hope that we can see you again on the Ecological Reference Committee as well, Mr. Levin. Council and staff did a lot of work to provide terms of reference on this change. That's saying, down the road, can we do things better? By all means, I think we always should keep our ear open. And I think, Councillor, you made a good point. If this is something that the governance working group might want to look at, down the road, I probably would encourage that. But as it stands now, I'd just like to, I don't want to make a decision on this at this particular committee, and I'd like to just have things proceed as council passed at this particular time. So I will not support this amendment.
Just a quick mention, it's no longer an advisory committee, it's a
Sorry,
reference group.
Mr. Levin,
Mr. Levin.
your time to speak has been given. It's not a back and forth. Councillor Lehman, I'll return the chair to you.
Sorry, Chair. I jumped in on you there. Yes. Okay. Any other comments? The clerk is just going to read out the amendment, Councillor.
That civic administration be requested to include in the ecological reference group terms of reference a review, environmental impact study, environmental assessments, infrastructure reviews. Is that correct?
Thank you. I think we're just missing the last bit of subject land status reports and subwatershed studies. And then it's accurate and approved. It looks accurate in
Okay.
eScribe.
It should be live on eScribe. Okay. All right, look for any further discussion on this amendment. Seeing none, I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion fails 1 to 5.
Thank you. And now we're back at the main motion, which is to receive the fourth report. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to 2.2. This is regarding amendments and additions to the Downtown Community Improvement Plan Program guidelines regarding vacant commercial space and fit-out grant program. We have a couple of delegation requests. So I'll look for a motion to receive those delegates. Councillor Hillier, seconded by Councillor Pelosa. I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 6-0.
Okay, Mr. Morrison, you here? There you are. Saw you this morning.
And the deal's still on. You're nice to me, I'm nice to you.
I thought that didn't have an expiry date of noon.
I don't get called Mr. Morrison very often, by the way. So, anyways, thank you, Chair and committee members, and I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you here today. I was informed late yesterday that there is a possible amendment being introduced to this staff recommendation, and I see a couple head nods, and so my deputation to you here today has changed somewhat. That being said, there are a few points that I would like to make and address concerning this matter. First off, it's a very welcomed initiative, and one that will have a significant positive impact, I believe, on the core area as a whole, and not just downtown. London's core area includes downtown, midtown, and the Old East Village, and it was in June of 2023 that the core area land and building vacancy reduction strategy was presented to council, with the key emphasis being on the word core. And after receiving this report, I must express at the time my deep disappointment that with the recommendation as it is currently, that while downtown is significantly a very vital part of this city, the decision to exclude Midtown and Old East Village from this program feels not only a bit short-sighted, but at the time, frankly, I found it insulting. The possible amendment is certainly going to cover this, I hope. Section 2.1 of the report suggests that downtown has the largest volume of vacant commercial space within the core area. However, I did have this confirmed yesterday by the planning department that per capita, actually Old East Village surpasses downtown in terms of vacant commercial space, which is a critical distinction and one that should not be overlooked when determining the program eligibility. Since taking on the role of the general manager of the Old East Village BIA in October of 2023, I've worked alongside our property owners, our local businesses and community partners, and many of you sitting here at the Horseshoe today, to drive renewed energy and investment in the Old East Village. And despite the challenges we face, including the highest concentration of social service providers within the business district, we're beginning to see encouraging results. And in fact, some of that is attracting now private investors. I hope to have one here today, but he was called to an important meeting. So we are moving forward. And with the continued multi-million-dollar investment just east of our district at 100 Kellogg, private investors are now turning to their attention to Old East Village. And this is a pivotal time for us to reinforce and accelerate that revitalization and not be left behind. Collaborative efforts with London Police Services, which was even discussed this morning on a press release that a few of you were at. Bylaw enforcement and the coordinated and informed response team are helping to address the street level crisis in our area, and positive momentum is growing, but we need to continue to have that staff and elected representative support to maintain the build on our progress. Including our district and Midtown in the vacant space fit out program would significantly amplify the work that's already been underway. And I've confirmed again with the planning department that amending the report to include Midtown and Old East Village would not be that difficult, and funding for the program is certainly there. As pointed out in the letter from Midtown Community Organization, I too would like to reiterate that the city's own corporate strategic plan supports inclusion of the full core area, downtown, Midtown, and Old East Village as part of its vision for economic growth, culture, and prosperity. And the plan highlights a commitment to equitable economic growth and celebrates the core as a vibrant, attractive destination that is truly our shared vision. If that is truly our shared vision, then we must ask, why would Midtown and Old East Village be left behind? I thank you for this, and I think it'll have a significant impact on the core area as a whole. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Just inform the committee that Mr. Thomas is unable to join. So we will proceed. That takes up our 2 delegation requests. So we'll proceed now, and I'm going to go to the mayor. I believe the mayor has a motion prepared.
Yeah, it's my intention, Chair, to the committee to introduce an alternate to the staff recommendation, which would essentially expand this program in its geographic area to include Midtown and Old East Village under the current parameters. It would identify a different bylaw and different CIP plan to amend, which includes the core area one. I've worked with our staff on that. That's no problem. They can bring the updated bylaw to council in time. So I guess I'd look to see if there's a seconder for that, and then I can read out the actual amendment and make some comments. I'll follow your lead, Chair.
Okay, I see Councillor Hillier has agreed to second it, so I'll go back to you.
Well, given I wasn't able to put this on the added agenda, I'll read the amendments just so it's in the public record. That on the recommendation of the Deputy City Manager of Housing and Community, sorry, I'm going to read the one that's in e-scribe. That the following actions be taken with respect to the introduction of a vacant office space fit-out program guidelines to the core area community improvement plan. Civic administration be directed to bring forward a bylaw to municipal council meeting on April 22nd, 2025 to amend bylaw CP 1559-83 as amended, being a bylaw to establish financial incentives for the core area community improvement project area by adding a Schedule 4 community area improvement plan, vacant commercial space fit out grant program guidelines. And then it being noted that we received delegations on this matter. The reason why I think this is important is, as was articulated by the delegation, it does align with our strategic plan that we're really trying to support not just the downtown, but a wider area of commercial office vacancy that has been impacted. I think we've seen successful programs initiated by this council through the office residential conversion. We now have a transit-oriented incentive plan, which would apply to portions of the core. To just simply restrict this to the downtown area, which certainly does have a need, I think would limit the opportunity and scope for Midtown and Old East Village, which certainly do have challenges with vacant office space. And I think that this program, I believe, will be successful. I think supporting up to 50% of the costs, up to $50,000 is a significant amount to assist those in looking to refurbish and open vacant space. And I think we want to give every possible opportunity for that wider area to participate in such a program. Again, having such programs in place allows us to start off, see how it works, and certainly can come back to council and modify them in the future if we feel like there's a way that we can make them better. But I think my preference would be, and why I put this motion on the floor, let's start off with a wider area that we know has a need. We can see how it works and we can take appropriate steps from there. And honestly, my goal here is like to get the money out the door. I think there's the time for providing an injection into the core area, given the office vacancy rate, is now. By expanding this to a wider area, I think we can deploy the resources that we have a lot quicker, a lot more effective, and create a larger catalyst within the downtown core area for all the other work that we're doing, some of which was mentioned today with the launching tomorrow of the open air drug strategy, the work that we've done with the downtown and core area quick start actions, the work on developing the actual comprehensive plan. I think this is one of those short-term actions we can take to support the area while we're working on all those other projects, and they all work in unison and in combination together. So happy to move this. I look forward to the committee's comments and really much appreciate the committee allowing this item to be dealt with first, given my other obligations today.
I'll go to committee. Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you. I just want to thank the mayor. We had a meeting yesterday morning and it didn't take long at all for this amendment to come forward, so I really appreciate that. There had been a growing concern that possibly the downtown strategy was to move the issues east, particularly with the letter from downtown London and from City Plaza. So this should reassure that area that this council does have a commitment to it, that the funding and opportunities will be there. I think that along with the London Police Service announcement this morning about the open air drug use, that there is hopefully a lot of hope now coming back into that area. There's so much potential. And I think all that investors and business owners and residents need is an assurance that we're committed to urgent change there, and I think we get to look forward to now celebrating the results that are going to come from this. So I really thank the mayor for bringing this forward and reassuring that area that it is going to be a great place to invest.
Thank you. I'll look. Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, I think it's important just to go to staff quickly on this one. For those who maybe don't get into the weeds on all of these reports, it may sound like we are incentivizing renovations for landlords. And in fact, it's my understanding, and I'm going to ask staff to just give a few comments on how this program is going to work, but this is actually tied to tenants. This is tied to bringing leaseholders in and filling spaces. This is not so landlord X or landlord Y can get a renovation on the city's dime, but it is actually when a business is going to locate, we would be helping them with some renovations to get that business ready and those doors open. So I'm just wondering if staff can maybe give us, a really, really high level, quick overview of how we're going to make sure that this actually leads to occupancy.
I'll go to staff.
Thank you. Through the chair, very happy to introduce the Vacant Commercial Space Fit Out Program for committee's consideration. The Vacant Commercial Space Fit Out Program, which I don't have a snappy acronym for just yet, but happy for any suggestions, will provide a 50% grant up to a maximum of $50,000, matching dollar for dollar to eligible applicants to renovate and fit out a vacant commercial, retail, or office space in order to open for business. When we observe the many different incentives and programs that council offers across the city, many are focused on the property owner. This program is unique in that it focuses on providing economic support to the business tenant. The goal of this program is to reduce the rising office and retail storefront vacancies across key areas in London. Eligible works for this program that are eligible for funding under the incentive include the necessary work for any requirements under the Ontario Building Code, for example, an additional accessible washroom, but also things like additional signage, lighting, permanent fixtures and fittings, flooring, doors, painting, and other work required for a business to actually open a vacant space. And we also are offering the incentive if a business wants to expand into an adjacent vacancy. The grant funding is provided to the applicant after they have completed the eligible investments, and we have entered into an agreement to maintain the space as a targeted use for a minimum of 2 years, which will align with their leasing agreements and the leasing part of the leasing requirements under the application. The financial incentive program, as previously mentioned, was identified as one of the strategies under the council-approved core area land and building vacancy reduction strategy from June 2023. It is funded through the multi-year budget, and it's estimated to support between 15 to 25 projects annually starting this year, pending council approval, and then continue in 2026 and 2027.
Deputy Mayor.
No, that's good, Chair. I just thought it was important to make it really clear, members of the public, those in the gallery watching remotely, that this is really about getting businesses into those vacant spots. It's not just about a renovation, but it's about doors open and commercial spaces filled, and I'll work with Mr. McCauley on a snappy name for it offline.
Councillor Purble.
Thanks. Now, I just would like to make a comment. I think this amendment makes lots of sense, and I hope encouraging my colleagues to support it and enlarging from downtown to core. We do need to address this in the entire core area. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you. I just forgot to thank the Midtown organization for their advocacy. They were on social media bringing awareness to this. They put a submission in. Kevin Morrison from the Old East Village BIA has taken the time to be here and submit the delegation request. And it does matter, and I know the people in the area do really appreciate the advocacy and representation. It's even more exciting hearing it all right now. So thanks to everybody.
Thank you. I'll look for Councillor Farrar.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm sure you're wondering if I would support something like this at council, and I will. For me, it's not about just downtown. It's about the city as a whole. I obviously do oversee the Ward of 13, which has the downtown in it, and I am happy to see that this amendment is there because when it comes to Midtown, I'm the one who put Midtown on paper at the strategic plan. Midtown asked me in the beginning, can we get our name on the strategic plan so we can get recognized for items like this? And I said, absolutely yes. So I'm glad that we're starting to see this development come through, and it's going to be including Midtown. For, I guess, some comments with the downtown BIA, there shouldn't be any concerns with issues being moved east or west because we're talking about space. We're talking about commercial space that cannot be moved. But in the end, when it comes to this amendment, I'm glad that we can, bring this incentive and start bringing units back online, bringing the commercial space back online. So I'm gonna be supporting this. With that, I would say, this is a good step for us. I have been speaking to many residents, many people downtown, and there's a sense of excitement in the air. They can see these steps that we're taking, and they know that there's more to come. They see what's happening with a whole bunch of other items that are with this, and, we're talking about some of the real priorities that we're always speaking about here in downtown or within the core area. One of those big items, especially what we saw with the core area vacancy, is vacant commercial spaces. So this is one step that you're going to see at the beginning, and there's going to be more steps to come to bring units back online. Again, it's about the evolution of the city. It's about the evolution of downtown, and I'm very excited to see that. So everybody I've been speaking to are excited. I was speaking to someone today, a very big stakeholder in downtown. They're absolutely excited to see programs like this, grants like this, and just the overall momentum and that we're taking here. I got to say thank you to the mayor. This is the mayor's item. He's been spearheading this, and I'm very grateful that he has brought this to the city because in the end, we need to get a handle on things, and this is, like I said, one of the big steps that we're bringing here. Council, I have seen support from council. I'm very appreciative of that. I feel like we are going to get support for this the way it is crafted right now at council, and I'm grateful for that. And I would just say this is one of several or many items that will be coming to this horseshoe for basically making sure and ensuring that our downtown and the areas around it, Midtown and OEV, are on the right track and to position ourselves in a place that is going to leverage all of our current assets that we have in the city right now and create new ones. to really make the city, to show what the city really is. We have good bones, we have good assets, we just need to bring them to the limelight. We need to bring them up for everybody to see, to attract people to come downtown and see really what this city is all about. Staff, obviously, you guys have been doing some great work. I'm very appreciative of the work that you've been doing. I really, I've said this already, but I'm going to say it again. I really appreciate just the level of detail and just, how hands-on you are right now, because this is a very big item for the city. This is very important, so I'm very appreciative of that. And like I said, speaking with people and just kind of informing individuals who have a stake in downtown Londoners in general, there is a sense of excitement in the air, and I'm really, really grateful to see that, and I just know this is going to be the beginning of something really great. So I'll leave my comments there for now, but I will be supporting this at council the way it's crafted at the moment.
Thank you. Other councilors, any members of the committee? If the committee will permit me, I'll just have a few brief comments just to the general gist of this program. We've done a number of action items to address the challenges we have downtown. Office to residential being a key plank, I think, and this follows up. When a new business opens up in a vacant building, or anywhere for that matter, there's an incredible risk that that location will work. And that risk is heightened when there's a number of vacancies around you. The challenge for us is to make this into a virtuous cycle. As more vacancies are taken up, there'll be more demand for other businesses, more people coming down, other businesses seeking remaining spots, and it just keeps growing. The challenge when you're first going in, along with that risk, is capital that's necessary to get things up and going. And leaseholds are a big portion of that, plus inventory, staffing, et cetera. A lot of money going out the door before money's coming in the door. What I like about this program, it's a dollar for dollar, so it's not a grant. There's skin in the game from the tenant that we will match up to 50 grand. And the other thing I like is that it's not, as Deputy Mayor pointed out and in the staff comments, it's not just for a landlord to improve his building. It's going to the tenant to ensure that it is occupied and getting that storefront up and going. So I'm fully supportive of this, and I understand where the mayor is going to address the concerns of the community to expand it to Midtown, et cetera. So if there's no other comments or questions, I have a motion moved and second. I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. We're now moving on to scheduled items. First one is 3.1, which is regarding 3095 Bostwick Road. I'll look for a motion to open the PPM. Councillor Hillier, seconded by close it. I'll call that vote.
I'm in favor.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 6-0.
And I understand the mayor is on his way, so thank you for participation. Okay, I'll look for the applicant. If the applicant would like to address committee, please, sir. Give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, members of committee and members of the public and staff. My name is Casey Kolchicki. I'm a senior associate with Zlinka Priamo Limited. I'm joined by Ledbetter from MTE Consulting. We're here representing Southside Construction Management, Inc. on the proposed Phase 8 of Talbot Village community that is before you today. I just want to take the time to thank staff, particularly Michael Clark, Peter Kavik, and Heather McNeely. There was a lot of back and forth, emails, meetings, a lot of collaboration between our respective teams to get this recommendation before you today. We've had a chance to review the staff recommendation of the report and are happy to be in agreement with the recommendation for approval. And we look forward to being back here in the near future with our draft plan of subdivision application and the draft conditions. I'm available if there are any questions, and Ali is also available if there are any questions regarding natural heritage. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for members of the public that would like to address the committee on this particular application. I don't see any in the gallery. I'll ask clerk if there's anyone online. There's no one online. I don't see anyone in the gallery. I'll look for a motion to close the PPM. Councillor Hillier, seconded by Councillor Cuddy, and we'll call that vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we have a staff recommendation. I'll look to committee for direction here. Councillor Hillier.
I will move the staff recommendation.
Okay, I'll look for a seconder. Deputy Mayor Lewis has seconded. I'll look for comments or questions on that. I'll go to Councillor Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for recognizing me again. And I want to start off with my thanks to staff on this one. I know it was a complicated file, and also to the applicant for working along with staff on this one. And I do recall the development just to the north that we approved a number of years ago for the intensification of development along Southdale, and how we were going to implement the services with the development to the south and what to do with the wetlands and the natural heritage feature. And here we are today with this application. And I want to sort of start off with saying that there still remains a few key issues when it comes to the natural heritage. I know that staff are recommending moving those two wetlands and the third one from the previous application down towards that east side of the woodland lot, as well as sort of cutting into that woodland and for residential units. And how do we sort of get that no net loss to our natural heritage feature, which we have to maintain. I still have concerns around the buffering. I just want to make a comment. I know we have guidelines when it comes to buffering, but the 5 meters and the 10 meters, I would have liked to see being greater around, especially around the woodland. I am, and I know committee have read some of the letters received from the public around the importance about the natural heritage features in this area and how important they are to the community. And I would like to make an amendment to the recommendation. I don't know if you'd like me to read it first, and looking for committee members to move it and maybe have a discussion.
I'm going to go with Councillor Pelosa.
Thank you. I'm happy to move it, trying to do committee work at committee, and it's an amendment to Part C, adding on an I. And if committee members refresh their e-scribe, it's actually already in there as Part 4. But there'd still need to be a need for a seconder if members of committee want to read it.
Okay, so the proposed amendment is in e-scribe. Councillor Pelosa has moved it, and she is looking for a seconder.
For the public, would you like myself or Councillor Hopkins to read it out?
Yeah, while we're hunting that up, Councillor.
Yeah, if you would allow me to read the amendment so the public can hear it. And it is an amendment to C, adding an I, the C part, the Planning and Environment Committee report to the approval authority, the issues, if any, raised through the application review process for Talbot Village Phase 8 subdivision located at 3095 Boswick. The I reads, the subdivision approval authority include a draft plan condition specific to natural heritage compensation for the 1.27 hectares of feature removal, consisting of 0.57 hectares of wetlands and 0.7 hectares of woodlands, to demonstrate no net loss to the natural heritage features and functions to the satisfaction of the city If the owner is unable to compensate for the full 1.27 hectares on the subject lands, the balance is to be provided on non-city lands external to the subject lands. It has been mentioned in the recommendation, some of the concerns with this application, and I'd like to have it be a noted clause in the recommendation supporting the concerns of the community. Thank you.
Okay, I'm looking for a seconder to Councillor Pelosa's amendment. Councillor Hillier has seconded, so we have a motion moved and seconded. An amendment, just. Okay. So we did have the main motion, which was to accept the staff recommendation. This is an amendment to that main motion, so we are just discussing the amendment right now. I'll look for speakers to that. Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Thank you, Chair. So I won't be supporting this. Here we are asking for more than what's recommended in the staff report. To my knowledge, no discussion has been had with the applicant on requesting this additional compensation. It's not staff supported, which I think would mean a very tough time defending imposing this kind of condition at the OLT, should it be appealed. But beyond that, I also have an issue with language that speaks about not being allowed to provide compensation on city land. And I've had this discussion with our staff on other files too. It is great when that is possible, but sometimes it is not. And sometimes if we have an applicant who's willing to provide enhancements to existing city land through compensation, I think we need a mechanism to do that. And I recognize that there are staff resources being devoted to other things right now. And at the end of the day, our staff can only work so many hours in the day. They deserve weekends off, they deserve sleep. And so I realize that that's going to be a long time coming. I'm okay with that. But in the interim, I'm not going to start what, in my opinion, is holding up development and housing that is desperately needed in our city to ask for more than what our staff have brought forward in a recommendation, particularly when I've seen in my previous term on council and even the term of council before that, the result of prior councils and prior planning committee decisions to impose extra conditions beyond what staff were seeking has led to plots of land in our city that continue to be vacant properties, that continue to be for sale today. Places where we approved hundreds of units of housing, some of them affordable housing, that we count on our roadmap to 3,000 as units that are in process that don't exist yet, because we've imposed so many conditions that the builder has decided it's not economically viable and they're not going to move forward with it. So particularly now, in the economic climate that we're in, when we have no idea what next week the cost of housing is even going to be, I'm not going to support starting to add extra conditions beyond what our staff have recommended onto applications that are seeking development approval. And I do think the end result, in my opinion, will be a challenge to the OLT that will simply spend time and money on lawyers to end up with a loss because it's not something that came forward in the staff recommendation.
Thank you. I'll look for other speakers. Councillor Hopkins.
Thank you. I would like to just respond to a comment. And I truly do not believe that this added amendment will hold up development. It is already in the recommendation. It needs to be done. It's just being noted in the recommendation that we do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Councillor Pelosa.
Thank you. I am supporting it. I do want to see how this comes back as it's considered through it, realizing especially the wetland features. You just can't create another wetland and this one's actually split between 3 subject properties. Also caring about housing, also that, yes, staff has opportunities to sleep and enjoy their time. That one was close to myself calling important personal privilege. No one's saying that staff doesn't work hard and no one deserves time. But this is the process of doing committee work at committee. If committee members prefer, happy to make sure that we can have these conversations at council instead, and those meetings will just go longer than they already do.
Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Mr. Chair, I don't want to engage in cross debate with another member of council, but when we talk about meetings going longer than they do, there was no amendment circulated on the added or even to the committee members prior to the start of this meeting on that, which makes meetings go longer than they do as well.
All right. Other comments or questions? If the committee will permit me, I just have a couple of questions from the chair. My understanding is that this particular area has been an extreme challenge, not just for this application, but for other applications around it. I just wonder if the staff could comment on that.
Through the chair, my name is Michael Clark, the planner on the file. Yes, this application is, as was previously mentioned, surrounded by development, including 735 Southdale to the north. And so sanitary services to service that previously approved development need to come through this subdivision to the top of Mercia Street, which is at the south end, kind of in the middle of that woodlot at the bottom of these subject lands. And so that's one of the complicating factors. So yeah, there's a lot of history and complication around here that's been going on for a while.
Thank you. And again to staff, how does this motion or amendment differ from the staff recommendation in dealing with wetlands?
Through the chair, thanks for that question. I just wanted to highlight too, the draft plan condition process and approval of a draft plan of subdivision is delegated to the Director of Planning and Development. That was delegated from council to the approval authority, which is the Director of Planning and Development. So it won't come forward to council. All that comes forward is the zoning and official plan amendment. So the amendment in front of committee today, it's obviously different than what staff brought forward. But the amendment that is brought forward can also be included as part of our draft plan conditions. So it is something the city would endeavor to work through with the applicant at a later stage. Yeah, we'd be able to work through that with the applicant with the similar language that we have here today.
Okay, thank you. And how many units are we looking at in this particular application?
Through the chair, we're looking at 113 new single-family dwellings and some townhouses. So in total, 113 new units.
Thank you. Okay. I'll look for any final comments or questions before call the vote, the amendment. Seeing none, we'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion fails 2-3.
Okay, we'll move back to the main motion. Any comments or discussion on the main motion, which is to accept the staff recommendation? Seeing none, I'll call that vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Moving on to 3.2, this is regarding 2826 Dundas Street. I'll look for a motion to open the public participation meeting. Motion, Mayor Lewis, seconded by Councillor Cuddy. I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. I'll look for the applicant. If the applicant is here and like to address committee, please give us your name, ma'am, and you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, committee members, staff, and members of the public. My name is Aaliyah Richards, and I'm here with my colleague, Harry Frusios, and we're planners from Zelenka Preamble Limited, and we're here representing the client on this application for the rezoning at 2826 Dundas Street. I'd like to start by thanking staff for their efforts in processing this application and for the positive recommendation to approve the rezoning that will permit LI6 uses on the subject lands. In reading the staff report, we have one requested amendment to it, and that would be that we would hope that committee would endorse the staff recommendation, but without the holding provision pertaining to the Archaeological Studies Ministry of letter of acceptance. Given the circumstances of this archaeological report, the most recent submitted report that was given to staff was updated in accordance with the ministry's comments. And as such, this will expedite the review of the archaeological report with the ministry, and we should be receiving a letter of acceptance within a few weeks. In the event of approval, it's likely that this letter of acceptance will be obtained before the appeal period is up on this application. So given this, we respectfully request that committee consider endorsing the staff recommendation to approve the requested zoning bylaw amendment without the holding provision. I want to thank committee for allowing us the opportunity to present here, and I'm available to answer any questions you might have about this application. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for any other members of the public who'd like to address the committee on this particular item. So I'll ask the clerk if there's anyone online. There's no one online. I don't see anyone in the gallery coming to the mic, so I'll look for a motion to close the PPM. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor Hillier.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, I'll put this to on the floor for the committee. Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to move the staff recommendation on this. This is in Ward 2. Once we have a seconder, I do have a question for staff so that I can.
I see Councillor Hillier has seconded, so I'll go back to you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, and thanks to Councillor Hillier. Through you to staff, I'm just wondering, hearing the applicant's representative on expecting the letter of acceptance anytime soon, I do understand that this holding provision would be a delegated authority. It doesn't have to come back to council for removal. So hearing their concern about the appeal period and the potential acceptance overlapping, from a staff perspective, does that prevent you from lifting the holding provision once it's been met prior to the appeal period? What are we talking about in terms of timeline, potential overlaps or holdups here? Are we talking a matter of days, or are we talking potentially months?
I'll go staff.
Through the chair, as the applicant mentioned, we still are not in receipt of the letter. It's been our standard practice where prior to PEC, we have not received that letter to apply the holding provision. It's my understanding that the appeal period would have to lapse prior to removing the holding provision, as the holding provision would not technically be in full force until such time as the appeal period has expired. We could potentially look into beginning the administrative processes behind that, but it is delegated to staff, so it does not have to return to council, as you said, but there is a circulation period associated with that as well.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. So, sorry, just to follow up on that, there's a circulation period for notification to remove the holding provision?
Go to staff.
That's correct. It's circulated to any members of the public who have requested written notice, as well as the applicant.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And so, sorry, because this is an unfamiliar one to me. What is the notification period required, and then what is the comment period? I mean, if the condition has been met and the holding provision is being lifted, I can understand the notice, but I need to understand what the process is beyond that, because if it's simply notifying the public and there's no other mechanism for them appeal-wise or anything like that, that's a little different for me than notifying the public, and then there's an appeal period and whatever that looks like. So can you just expand on that a little bit for me, please, through the chair?
Please go ahead, staff.
Through the chair, thanks for the question. Typically, the circulation period for a holding provision removal is 21 days. And then shortly thereafter, the approval authority report is signed by the approval authority. There's no appeal period, and then the bylaw is enacted.
Deputy Mayor.
Okay, I appreciate that. So 21 days, we're talking about 3 weeks. The appeal period on the zoning would potentially overlap part of that time period, assuming that the acceptance letter does come before the appeal period on the zoning has lapsed. So we might, and again, I know I'm talking a little bit of speculation and conjecture, but we're not really talking a delay of months, perhaps a couple of weeks at the most. Is that what I'm hearing? Understanding that there are potential other complications, but all things being equal, am I reading that right, that we're talking perhaps a couple of weeks?
Go, staff.
Through the chair, that's correct. It is an expedited process. The uncertainty and the reason why we're recommending the holding provision is because we don't know when that letter will be received.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you for that. So I appreciate the applicant's desire to move quickly, but in this case, I'm going to lean towards leaving the holding provision in place, primarily because the provincial legislature hasn't even resumed sitting. I know this is with bureaucrats out of ministry, but given the realities of where we are with the province right now, and hearing that it's potentially a couple of weeks, I don't think that it's going to be that onerous a situation. You know, I will say as the ward councillor, certainly if the applicant does run into problems because of ministerial overlap and there's something that we can do to help expedite things, certainly reach out, and I'll talk to staff about what we can do there within our allowed processes. But in this case, I think that the holding provision, we're all assuming that the ministry letter is going to come back good, and knowing that the property has previously been used for agricultural purposes, and so anything that perhaps had archaeological value is probably long tilled under and gone. But at the same time, I don't want to presume that the acceptance letter is going to be 100% cleared off, and that without that holding provision, we potentially put ourselves in a little bit of an awkward position. So I see both sides. I think in this case, I just want to err on the side of caution and leave the holding provision in until we get that letter.
Look for other speakers. We have a motion moved and seconded. I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Moving on to 3.3 regarding 1622 Evans Boulevard. I'll look for motion to open the public participation meeting. Councillor Cuddy moves it, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. And I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. I'll look for the applicant. The applicant like to address the committee. Please, ma'am, give us your name, and you have 5 minutes.
Through the chair, Carrie O'Brien on behalf of Drulo Holdings, Inc. We just wanted to quickly thank staff both on the zoning and site plan teams for their help in processing the application. We've reviewed the report, and we're happy with the recommendation of staff, and I'm available for any questions if they are from the committee.
Ms. O'Brien, that's 12 seconds. Well done. I'll look for other members of the public who like to address the committee on this issue. Please, ma'am, give us your name, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Catherine Button. This is my first time doing this, so I apologize. So I'm just going to say that I am not opposed to the the townhouses. Rather, I'm concerned about the apartment buildings and the intensification in the area. So the medium density, I have no issue with that. I just wanted to say that as I go around the City of London and I see other apartment buildings being built, I do see them on major roadways like Commissioners, there's Wonderland, there's Killally. There's also Bradley as well, too, where Drew Low is located with 9 buildings. As far as I can tell, there could be more because they're still being built. I just want to say that this particular site, which I live like pretty much next door to it, so I have a little bit of skin in the game here. Like I find the site is really far back into the subdivision. It's in the back quarter, so there's not really any easy access to Commissioners. It does take almost a full kilometer to get out to Commissioners. So the traffic is going to, I think, really flood the area if there is more than what was planned originally. So the other issue is that these streets that go onto Evans Boulevard and enter into the rest of the subdivision, actually there's 3 schools in the area. So all this traffic is going to flood into the school areas, and that's a major concern for myself. There isn't really any major shopping or businesses. Realtor.ca gives it a 3 out of 10 for walkability. There's not really much in the area, so it is very car dependent. And I really feel like all of this extra traffic is going to be a problem. There's one street in particular on Evans Boulevard that does connect over to Meadowgate, which is the main road through Summerside there. And that particular road on McGuire, it does empty out right in front of the school. That's where the T intersection ends. So So as far as I can understand from reading the plans, that there is going to be about 175 units in this one particular area. I went on StatScan and it says that 2.4 people generally live in each unit. So that's about 400 people. I also do want to point out that it's not just this one site in particular. This area is not developed. There's still single detached homes to be on the other side, as well as townhomes still to be built. So there's 2 other sites right next door to this one in particular. So of course my concern is that if we open the floodgates to put in apartment buildings back in this back corner, that they could also be added to the other 2 sites as well. Of course, there's apartments are needed in this area. I do appreciate that. I have no issue with apartments. And like I said too, there's all those apartments from Drew Low going up on the other side on Bradley, which is perfect. But there's also other apartment buildings going up on Jackson and Commissioners. So I really don't feel like we're desperate in this back corner. I really feel like this is not the proper place to be putting apartment buildings and a 2-level parking structure as well. And then finally, my last concern is just the green space. I'm finding that there's not a lot of green space in the plan. I really feel like even the people who live in the apartment buildings would appreciate some area to walk their dogs or their children to play. So I think that that should also be considered. That's it. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Look for any other speakers. I'll ask clerk if there's anyone online. There's nobody online. I don't see any other folks coming to the mic, so I'll look for a motion to close the PPM. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we have a staff recommendation. I'll put that on the floor for committee members. Councillor Hillier.
Yes, thank you. And I'd like to make a few comments and give us a brief history lesson on the Summerside area. So everyone knows, this area has been going through renovations and initial changes since September of 1993. And we've had 19 phases. The last communication came through as of November, and it was still for townhouses. I'm looking for an interpretation of London Plan. I am getting to that.
Hold on a second, Councillor. Deputy Mayor. Yeah, can you get the mic? Councillor Hillier.
It is on.
There we go. Okay.
Just before engaging in debate or comment about an application, we don't have a motion on the floor. So I'm prepared to move the staff recommendation. The councillor had started speaking, but we need a motion on the floor. It's not in order to just provide comment without a motion.
I appreciate that. Being in committee, there's sometimes that there is discussion before a motion is made, and I wasn't sure where Councillor Hillier was going. Councillor, do you have a motion to go ahead, or do you need to ask some questions before you get to that point?
I do need to ask some questions before.
Okay, I'm going to allow that.
May I continue?
Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Okay, now, as I was saying before, the last time this came up was November 8th, 2024, and it was for townhouse developments. Now, if you look through the proposal, and we get, here we go, we get to page 96, and we're talking about land use, and we're going to use the London plan as the argument of why we can have this. Broader ranges permitted include apartment buildings, stacked townhouses, and direct higher order streets where services in closer proximity are more accessible. Well, if you look through this, you'll understand that Highbury is being used, and it's showing Evans as a connector. Evans as a connector right now is backed up beyond use in the mornings and in the afternoons, especially around school time. This entire area has been designed for townhouses, and the Summerside area has been very, very friendly with all of the developments going around the periphery on our major roads. But this appears to be going on a major road, but it's not. It's on Highbury. There is no access from Highbury. It is a kilometer into the subdivision. We are changing the density, but we're using the London plan to defend it. There is no transit. There is no access to a high order road. This is a small little side road within my neighborhood. Now, if you go a little farther into the report.
Councillor, do you have a motion in mind here?
I'm trying to refuse this.
Okay, why don't we go down the road suggested by the deputy mayor?
Sure.
And maybe we'll get a motion on the floor, and then you can argue against it or for it, or however you want to go, okay? So I'll look for a motion. Councillor Cuddy, what's your motion?
I'll put the motion on the floor.
Okay, and Deputy Mayor Lewis seconds it. Okay, so now we have got a motion on the floor.
Point of order.
Yes.
Sorry, just Councillor Cuddy say he put the motion on the floor. What motion specifically? Staff recommendation motion or Councillor Hillier's motion of don't do it?
Councillor Hillier did not make a motion.
I'm sorry, Chair, I'll rephrase that. I'll put the staff recommendation on the floor.
Sorry, I thought that's what you had said. Thank you, Councillor. Okay, so we've got a motion on the floor supporting the staff recommendation. Councillor Hillier, now I'll go back to you to make your points against that, or for or against that motion.
Thank you very much, and I shall continue. First of all, I forgot to say thank you to resident Catherine. I really appreciate you coming down here, and I do have your communication, and I echo everything you've said. What concerns all the residents of Summerside is this is supposed to be a one-time use, but if you look at the map, looking at the subject site, just below it is 1688. What the residents are very, very concerned with is we're going to get a copy and paste all the way down this development. Instead of townhouses, we're going to be getting high-rises. We didn't ask for this, and no one agreed to this. In 19 different phases of this Summerside subdivision, everyone has assumed this would be townhouses. Now, just since January, this has flipped. 70, 80 homes were notified? It's affecting the entire area because we have school access there, and this is going to drain right out into where everybody tries to use the main road now, and it's backed up. It can take 25 minutes to get out on Bradley Ave right now. I believe this is going way too intensification in the middle of subdivision versus the periphery. I'm hoping my colleagues will refuse this because I don't feel this is how the London plan should be interpreted. If we're going to be putting things along transit corridors in our higher order areas, I agree, but this is not one of those. So please refuse this and bring it back to what it was originally planned. Thank you.
I'll look for other speakers. Councillor Pelosi.
Thank you. Through you to staff, I'm somewhat familiar in the area just as I ramble through the south end. And there does seem to be backups. I know traffic engineering comes at different stages, but as there is backups, and it's always a concern for first responders and people trying to get in and out, what is the traffic mitigation efforts that would be near term? I know council decided in the master mobility plan to extend Bradley, which near term's never fast enough. So just looking to see what is in place for this area to help with traffic and the protection of the children in the school areas.
I'll go staff.
Through the chair, just give me one moment, please.
Sorry, I'm not sure if IT can also turn up staff's mics.
Yeah,
It's just a really hard time to hear
Actually,
today.
thank you. I was just about to say that. When you're addressing us, just the way the acoustics are in here, I ask that you maybe get a little closer to the mic so we can hear you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Through the chair, just want to touch on the zoning. So the existing zoning currently on the subject site allows for 75 units per hectare. What's being proposed today is 85 units per hectare, and the applicant's actually bringing forward a site plan that's currently being reviewed by the site plan team. I believe it's close to drawing acceptance as well, with 82 units per hectare. So the increase in density isn't significantly different from what was previously approved back in 2004. In terms of traffic impacts, when this previous subdivision, the phases came forward, I believe in 2021, a traffic impact study would have been completed at that time. And through that review, there was no concerns addressed. In terms of the mobility master plan and the growth implementation strategy or other projects outside of this neighborhood that will help support transit, Commissioners Road East is currently identified as 2036. But as you know, that timing could change. There's the 2028 development charges background study, which could change that timing, as well as council endorsing the mobility master plan may change that timing as well. So hopefully that addresses your questions there, Councillor. Thank you.
Councillor Plaza. Other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, yeah, and I appreciate Mr. Kavik mentioning this, but we are talking about an application and zoning that's going from 75 units per hectare to 85 units per hectare. It is not actually a substantive increase. The zoning that's already in place would allow a 13-meter maximum height, which can get you, and staff can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that gets you at least 3, maybe 4 stories, depending on the design of the building. So I see some nods from our team in the back row there. So we're talking about 2 additional stories on 2 buildings. With all due respect to Councillor Hillier's comments, 6 stories is not a high-rise. It is one of those missing middle, sort of mid-rises that are typically described for buildings that are that 6 to 8 story sort of height. They are also what is, quite honestly, in the current times, what is attainable and affordable for folks where the single-family home or the townhouse model may not be. I appreciate the traffic concerns and particularly around the school. You know, I had a conversation with a resident in my own neighborhood last night on Vancouver Street about the traffic around St. Pius School. And at the end of the day, the traffic around the school is from parents driving their kids to school rather than walking or taking active transportation options. And I know that not all parents can do that every day because there's soccer practices and dance recitals and all of those things as well. But a lot of our traffic generated around the school is just drop off and pick up that really could be reduced by walking school bus programs, walk to school efforts, those sorts of things. And I recognize that the school capacity is overflowing because of the terrible way that the province funds school builds and the expectation that they're at capacity on day one. But that's an issue that we have to deal with through provincial advocacy and not something that we get to consider through Planning Act considerations on developments. So for me, you know, and there is a chicken and an egg piece here. We don't get transit until there's enough density to support transit. I appreciate the residents saying, you know, there's not a lot of shopping available in the area. And I get that. But we don't get the commercial opportunities until there's enough customer base to support it. In fact, we've seen some businesses up at Commissioners and Meadowgate in that area actually open and not thrive and succeed because they just didn't have a big enough customer base to sustain themselves right now. As the neighborhood grows out, that customer base grows as well and provides opportunities for commercial establishments to locate there too. So yeah, there is a chicken and an egg piece, and I get the frustration that folks have that the egg isn't there when the chickens are moving in, but sometimes you have to have the chickens before you can get the eggs that they're going to be enjoying in the neighborhood. So that's, to me, that's why this is a yes. It is a 10 units per hectare increase. It's not a significant increase. It's not a significant increase in height over what would be currently allowed. So I hear the ward councilor's frustrations with the traffic issue, but for me, I think part of the traffic issue is how people are choosing to move around. Whether or not we're going to get enough density for transit to be more functional there, which I'm sure that new members of our new interim transit board will be happy to discuss with the councillor. But I think for now, we have to look at this from a planning perspective, and that's why I'm supporting this application.
Go to Councillor Hillier.
Yes, thank you, and I appreciate my colleagues' comments. But for me, 6 stories is quite tall, especially when it's out of place and not on a major route. It's off of Commissioners, it's off of Bradley. It's not actually accessible from Highbury, so to me, it's not. I think for my residents, if it would be allowed, if we could have some sort of acknowledgement from the developer that they're not planning the exact same thing in every block along that. Because if you look at where you're starting there, the next block behind it is 1688. And my residents' concern is that they're planning to do a copy and paste right down the block. And if I could get some sort of reference or some sort of acknowledgement from the developer that won't happen, I know my residents would be a lot happier.
Look for other speakers. You have a motion moved and seconded. I don't see anyone else wishing to speak, so I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 4-1.
Moving on to 3.4, this is regarding 8530 Longwoods Road. I'll look for a motion to open the public participation meeting. Councillor Hillier, seconded by Councillor Cuddy, and we'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
So I'll look for the applicant. If the applicant would like to address the committee, please, sir, give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
My name's Steve Saker. I'm representing the owner of the property. We would be happy to just go with what the zoning has suggested in their comments. Everyone seems to be in favor. There's just going to be one single-family home built there.
Thank you. Look for anyone from the public that would like to address the committee on this item. Ask clerk if there's anyone online. There's no one online. I see no one approaching the mic, so I'll look for a motion to close. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lewis. We'll call a vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
I'll look for a motion from the committee. Councillor Hillier.
I will move the staff recommendation.
Seconded by Councillor Cuddy. Any discussion? Councillor Hopkins.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, for recognizing me. I do have a quick question through you to staff. Just want to make sure the MDS requirements are met there. There's a lot of rural property around this area. I want to thank the applicant for being here as well, but just want to make sure the measurements all pan out.
I'll go to staff.
Through the chair, thank you for the question. All the MDS set of requirements have been met. Thank you.
Councillor Hopkins. Any other questions, comments? We have a motion moved and seconded. I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
3.5, this is regarding 1398 Wellington Road. I'll look for a motion to open the public participation meeting. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor Hillier, and we'll call that vote.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm Adam LaGrew here from Monteith Brown Planning Consultants.
Just hold on a second, sir. We're just going to find out from the clerk. I think we know where the vote's going, but we have to keep.
Sorry. Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Now give us your name and away you go.
Sorry. Adam LaGrew from Monteith Brown Planning Consultants. We've been retained by the owner of the property for this zoning bylaw amendment, and we've reviewed the staff report and are supportive of their recommendation of approval, and we're here to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll look for any members of the public who'd like to address the committee on this item. Ask clerk if there's anyone online. No one online. Seeing no one wanting to speak, I will look for a motion to close the PPM. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. I'll look for a motion from the committee. Councillor Plaza.
Thank you. I'll move staff's recommendation.
Look for a seconder. Councillor Cuddy. Look for discussion, comments. We have a motion moved in second. I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Moving on to 3.6, this is regarding 825 Warncliffe Road South. I'll look for a motion to open the public participation meeting. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor Hillier. We'll call that vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. I'll look for the applicant. The applicant would like to address committee. Is the applicant online?
No.
One last call for the applicant. Address the committee. Okay, I'll look for anyone else from the public that would like to address the committee on this particular item. Anyone online? One last check. Okay. I'll look for a motion to close the public participation meeting. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor Hillier. We'll call that vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, I'll look for a motion from committee. Councillor Plaza.
Thank you. I'll move staff's recommendation.
Thank you. I'll look for a second. Councillor Cuddy seconds. Look for discussion. Councillor Plaza.
Thank you. As the neighboring ward councillor across the road, I'll note that there's no current animal care hospital and veterinarian care available in this area of the city. So a welcomed addition to those who are seeking care for their pets. Also glad that they're going to be utilizing the open green space for their small furry clientele. It's going to be well used and I'm happy to support it.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? We have a motion moved and seconded. I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Moving on to 3.7. This is regarding 801 Sarnia Road. I'll look for a motion to open the public participation meeting. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor Hillier, and we'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And I'll look for the applicant. The applicant would like to address the committee. Please, sir, give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of committee. Mike Davis here with Civic Planning and Design. Here today on behalf of our client, Royal Premier Homes, to speak to this plan, which is a thoughtfully designed and most importantly, economically viable path forward for phase 2 of their Western Prestige Village development. Western Prestige Village is a comprehensively planned multi-phase residential development by Royal Premier Homes. Contains a mix of housing types. Phase 1 saw 57 townhouse units completed. Phase 2 has always been envisioned as an apartment component to this, and really was meant to serve kind of the growing demand for these diverse housing styles in this this growing area of Northwest London. I think this application really kind of underscores the complexity of working together to build the city that we're striving for. We have, in this case, neighborhood input, we have recommendations from the planning department, and we have economic feasibility. I wish I had the time to fully dive into kind of all of those elements, but I think for today's purpose, I want to focus on the key points. In our professional review of the staff report, the issue at heart seems to be around the additional height from 6 to 10 stories. There is a notion in the staff report or a perception that this could be over-intensification. There is also reference in the staff report to the fact that the city has recently completed a review of the heights framework of the London plan. And I think the important piece for us that we want to convey is the counterpoint to that. Fundamentally, when the City of London makes policy decisions, they do so at a high level using broad strokes. And that's completely valid and important for policy decisions. But both the Planning Act and your own official plan do have a mechanism, a built-in mechanism to consider amendments where the unique circumstances of the project or the site warrant that. And we actually think that this situation is a textbook case where these amendments are warranted because of the uniqueness of this situation. Building upon that a little bit, firstly with respect to the notion that this could be over-intensification. We looked at that very carefully in coming up with this plan, and I think what the staff report fails to appropriately recognize or give sufficient weight to is the fact that this is in fact a multi-phase comprehensively planned development. And when we look at the total site area for phase 1 and phase 2, we get a combined density of 91 units per hectare. 91 units per hectare, that's actually relatively low and within the typical thresholds of what is permissible within the neighborhood's place type. For example, if we were to look, if Royal Premier Homes was to target this site for an apartment development completely from the start and not have that mix that we're seeking, even at the 4-story level, we could have seen densities of closer to 125 units per hectare. So I just wanted to kind of underscore that. I felt that was not appropriately addressed in the staff report. The second piece is, what is the impact of increasing from 6 to 10? This site is very unique in its context. It is somewhat an island of its own. To the north, we of course have a city pathway, a block that was previously dedicated by Royal Premier Homes to the city. Beyond that, we have the rail line that provides over 70 meters of separation between this site and single-family homes to the north. To the east, the site is a triangular in shape, so to the east is truly Sarnia Road. There's no neighbors to the east. To the south, we have Sarnia Road itself, which is a 36-meter right-of-way and an existing 4-story building on the other side of Sarnia Road. And then, of course, to the west, that is in fact part of the same master plan development by Royal Premier Homes. Additionally, there is a 1.5 meter building step back that has been incorporated on that side to provide some further relief to the massing along that west interface. I think the last kind of piece that I want to highlight specifically with regard to the planning evaluation that's been presented by staff, there's references that reduced setbacks that are being sought, reduced open space ratios, or increased coverages are indicative of over-intensification. In this case, those are not those are not signals of over-intensification, but rather a side effect of the planning history, where previously Royal Premier Homes has dedicated significant open areas here for city use. I think those are the points I want to make, so I'll wrap up and certainly look forward to dialogue with all the stakeholders here today.
Okay, thank you. I'll look for members of the public that would like to address the committee. Please, ma'am, give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emelina. I live on 811 Sarnia Road, and I actually own the property. Can you guys hear me well? Yeah?
Yes.
That's
we're
good? Okay,
Yep.
just making sure. It's the first time I've done this, so. So the reason why I'm here today is because I strongly support this development. And the reason why I'm saying that is because as a young professional, I see how much this is gonna benefit myself in the community. Like, I myself know that, like, I live with my 2 aunts, and one of the biggest struggles I'm noticing is, like, there's two levels, so there's a lot of stairs at my house. So, like, I can definitely see how, like, I would probably be renting, because I own the property on 811, but I would definitely be renting there, and this would actually benefit me, because they're like 57, 65, and like, I don't mind walking up the stairs, but for them, it's becoming a struggle because they have so many health issues. So, personally, to me, I see how this will benefit me, as well as I like, when we first bought the property, like, I always understood that, like, this was part of phase 2, and I generally, like, believe that this will, like, help myself and my family. I have so many friends, like, we're always talking about the housing situation in London, and we're always like, the problem is there's not enough buildings that are newly built, or there's not enough places that accommodate for, like, people between my age groups, and there's not enough places that we can be renting. So I really think that this building, whether the height changes, I don't see how that will affect, like, us, because it would just allow for more opportunity for housing for all of us. Like, so many of my friends are in situations where they try to get an apartment building and someone else has it, and then they have to start all over from scratch. I feel like this will definitely help. And as well as it will bring more of a sense of community, because I noticed that at night, like, the community is super, like, Sarnia Road there's no pathways there, and I think the building and the townhouses will connect, which will be really nice because it will add a bigger sense of community to us. So I personally don't have any issues. I do ask for just a sense of updates if it does move forward. I do think that transparency from both ways, from the city as well, just letting us know what's happening, and if anything were to change throughout the construction phase, we just ask for updates because we do live in the area and we want to be informed. But overall, I do support this, and I definitely see how this will, like, benefit me as a homeowner in the area.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'll look for next speaker.
Mr. Chairman?
Please, sir, give us your name. You have 5 minutes.
My name's Angus Johnson. Thanks to the committee for hearing me today. I've subtitled my letter that you saw in your notes as London's Growing Bedroom City. The 2021 census indicates that 40,000 London commuters get out of their beds each day and commute to work outside the city. The bedroom city where commuters live with their families has a population of around 100,000 people. It provides a sleeping place for these mobile workers in an off-work employee parking lot for various out-of-town employers where workers presumably park their cars when they're working. The city within the city is located not in any one area but scattered across the city. Less than half the commuters work in communities on the city's perimeter. More than half go further afield. The emissions problem with the bedroom city is the high emissions the bedroom cars produce. That 1/4 of the city's commuting cars is actually producing 80% of the emissions of the rest. Each bedroom car creates 2.5 times the emissions of the average within-city commute car. If the bedroom factor ever got to 30%, the total emissions in and out would be about the same. If 801 Sarnia Road becomes reality, the 91 units that don't have car parking won't be part of that bedroom city, because those owners and tenants will be driving out of work. They won't be buying if they can't have a car. But in-city and bedroom commuters would be competing for the other 91 cars included units. Using 2021 metrics, we can assume those 90 units will be sold to roughly 24 bedroom city owners and 67 work in the city owners. Until the 2026 census, we won't know exactly what's happening to commute out numbers and the size of the bedroom city now. Based on the most recent numbers about transportation emissions from Google Environmental Fear, my fear is the commute out emissions are growing. And I'm certainly not advocating for rejecting this project because it'll add 24 units to the bedroom city. Every apartment project in the city that includes parking will be adding bedroom units, and the emissions the cars will be producing the same proportion by the thousands. Having no car units, that helps to put some limitation on the growth of the bedroom city. This particular project will have bike parking, which of course is a good idea for reducing emissions. Bike paths, transit improvements, and roundabouts, etc. are all good ideas. But basically, these good ideas are focused on reducing emissions from in-city commuting. To this point, no one from this committee, city council, or anyone else has shown me any interest in plans for reducing the emissions produced by commuters from the bedroom city. And any ideas would be welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for the next speaker. Please, ma'am, go to the mic. Give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Misha Sajjad, and I'm a resident at 811 Sarnia Road. I'd like to speak in opposition of this apartment building. To start off, I'd like to talk about the traffic. Sarnia Road is not a two-lane road. I and many residents struggle with everyday traffic flow while turning right or left from our townhouses and near the proposed building entry location, especially for school bus stops. Sarnia Road becomes one-lane road after Aldersbrook Road intersection, and the curve of the road near the proposed building is very sharp that even I have to put my right turn indicator on from afar for the vehicles behind me to give me space to turn safely in my residential complex. 182 units means an abundance of cars traveling on Sarnia Road to enter this building, and if a questionable decision is made, then the construction vehicles will cause traffic delays, congestion, noise, and dust pollution. This creates an unsafe environment for the nearby residents and their families, along with the Oak Ridge retirement house that's right across the proposed site. I'd also like to talk about the active railway line. Builders or realtors often lie about the noise and the vibration of the trains. When we bought our house, we were only told 1 or 2 freight trains pass every week, and a few houses close to the rail line have a sound barrier. After living there for almost 5 years, I found out almost every day freight trains pass in the early hours of morning or late at night, and you can feel the vibration from the far distance. I tolerate the inconvenience, but many residents are not happy with the sound and vibrations of the passing train. My neighbor, whose house was claimed by the builders, being built with sound barrier, is uncomfortable with the loud noise and the freight trains. For instance, it shows that the builders and realtors are unclear with what they present, as they want to get approval by city to start building said projects. Unfortunately, this is to generate tons of money at the expense of peace and security of its residents and buyers. Next, I want to address the green space. The proposed area is a small green space for many trees and wildlife. Open green space gives a sense of happiness, calm, and mood elevating effect, and the Oak Ridge retirement house's windows open towards the space, providing a scenic view to the old age residents. Building 10 stories not only disrupts the ecosystem, but also restricts the view of the residents of the old age home. Next is the following that, long-term care residents and children's safety. Oak Ridge Retirement House, seniors living there are a vulnerable community who deserve peaceful living and prompt medical attention when needed. This building not only impacts the others by increasing loud noises, dust, mud, traffic congestions while it's being built, but also after completion, it blocks open view from their windows. In our townhouse complex, children play on the streets, which increases the risk factor of any accidents. We lack a proper park in our area for the children to play safely. A 10-story building construction site will become a hazard for all the children who, out of curiosity, sometimes venture into open spaces, including the heavy construction equipment moving in and out. Worst case scenario, if the building is approved, where would all the children living in those units go to play? Safety risk will always prevail with very close active railway line and busy traffic road. I strongly recommend to build a park at the site for a community instead of a 10-story apartment building. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you
for your time.
Thank you. I'll look for the next speaker. Please, ma'am, give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Shazia Sajan, and I'm a resident of 811 Sarnia Road. And I oppose this building, I strongly oppose this building because we've been living in this area for quite some time, and I don't know how many people who are going to plan this building or who are going to approve this building will be living in that area. So I feel my comments should be regarded as something very important because this is something which I face every day, like the traffic congestion, like the noises and everything. So for me, and anybody who is traveling on Wonderland Road towards Sarnia Road or towards Hyde Park, they know in the peak hours, it's really hard to travel on these roads. And Sarnia Road is such a nice road. I feel it's the best road in London because it's a small road just starting from an iconic Western University towards Hyde Park. It ends at Hyde Park. And if you see Sarnia Road, there are no tall buildings on it except that retirement home over there. So, and that retirement home is there for a reason because, at a certain age of the people living over there needs peace and good time in the later days of their lives. Just think of this tall building standing on Sarnia Road and just blocking all the view for them, all disruption of the peace. And 10-story building is not going to be built in 1 or 2 months. It will take some time to build such tall building. So just think of all the construction going on such a small road with we living nearby. I honestly speaking, this is something which is, I feel it's not good for my mental health. It's not good for the environment. It's not good for the resident of the Oak Ridge retirement home and the children living around us. And the homeowners over there, I'm a homeowner over here, and I'll be living there for a long time. None of the counselor, none of the staff, I don't know who is living nearby. But me, my family, and whoever is living there, maybe they are not here to address this meeting, but I have seen that people who even not living in that area don't want this building to be built over there, especially a 10-story building. It's a complete no-no. And I hope you guys just understand to the extent that we, being the citizen or the public living in that area, how we feel everyday challenges. So if you are making any decision, just please consider to the level as if you are living in that area and facing all the traffic problems, all the noise problems, the train, active train, railway line. So you guys have to consider each and everything before building this building, because if once this building is built over there, it will stay over there for a long time. And one more thing I just want to point out, they said it's 182 units and they're only providing 91 parking spaces for those 182 units. We are living in townhouses and we are facing the parking problems. My God, For 5 years, we are facing, in visitor area, we cannot find parking space for our guests. Even we got a ticket for parking in front of our driveway. So 91 parking spaces for 102 units. 102 units, even if you divide two cars per unit, how many cars are going to be there? So please just make sure that if you are building such a building, just build it in a space which is open space, not a small road like Sarnia Road. So, and this building, if you build, this will going to stay there forever. And God knows, I mean, our coming generations, how they'll remember us for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll look for other comments from the, from the gallery. Seeing none, I'll ask clerk if there's anyone online. Okay, Alex, understand you're online. You have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, committee members, staff, and neighbors. Thank you for allowing me to provide comments today. I apologize for my voice. I am speaking through a voice assistant device. My name is Alex Babanski, and I live just west of the proposed development on Sarnia Road. I already sent my concerns in writing back in February, and I trust those details are on record. Today, I want to speak directly and honestly about our concerns. I speak on behalf of 221 people who signed my petition on change.org. I have sent the details of that petition to the Planning Committee and to our councilor, Steve Lehman, and I hope he will share it with the rest of City Council. Let us start with the first issue. Constructing at this site defies logic when considering the broader implications. The proposal places a 10-story building in the middle of a residential neighborhood, far from shopping malls, far from grocery stores, and nowhere near a major transit hub. Yet it includes only 91 parking spaces for 182 units. Where will the rest of the cars be parked? We all know the answer: on our streets. Let me ask you, if you were that unlucky person living in that building without a parking space, where would you park your car? Here is a hint. The closest available parking is the lot at the long-term care facility across the road. That lot serves seniors who depend on daily care, family visits, and ambulances. If those spaces are taken, their safety is at risk. The fact that this even needs to be pointed out is deeply concerning. In fact, it is shameful that we are even considering overflow parking, noise, construction dust, diesel fumes, and traffic congestion in the immediate vicinity of our most vulnerable citizens. They deserve better than that. I am sure none of you would want your loved ones to suffer under those conditions. Second, let us be honest about transportation. The argument that not everyone will have a car, people can take the bus, is unrealistic. So again, a simple question. When was the last time you took a bus to do your grocery shopping or carried bags of groceries through snow and slush? How many of you expect your families to take 2 separate bus rides, including a transfer, just to reach Walmart? Another question. How many of you on this council do not own a car? And how many of you have more than 1 car in your household? So why consider approving a plan that assumes 91 households can live without cars in a neighborhood far from any stores? In big cities, high-rises come with underground parking and are located near shopping malls and major transit lines. That is not a luxury, it is basic functionality. This development offers neither. My third question, who truly benefits from this construction? Certainly not the neighborhood, which has no safe spaces for children to play. Not the long-term care home, which lacks appropriate outdoor areas for its residents. Not emergency services, and definitely not the people who already live here. The only party that gains is the developer, who increases profits by packing in more units. And that brings me to my final point. We are expected to follow the city bylaws, yet the developer is asking for 3 major exemptions. 1, reducing landscaped open space from 30 to 15%. 2, building a 10-story building in a location clearly not suited for it. 3, reducing the parking space. Why are these exemptions even being considered? Exemptions should be granted only when there is a clear public benefit. So I ask a simple question. Can anyone name even 1 benefit this building brings to our neighborhood? Because all I see are sacrifices, less green space, more congestion, more risk, and 0 gain for those of us who already live here. As I mentioned earlier, 221 people signed the petition in less than a month. People in my neighborhood do not want this construction. We feel our voices and our dignity are being handed over to greedy development interests. We have seen what happens when governments prioritize money over people. Let us not fall into the "Make London Great Again" trap. There is no need to sacrifice livability and decency for a few extra tax dollars. That attitude might fly in a country where facts are optional and convicted felons can still run for office. But here in Canada, we should expect better. I ask you to treat our neighborhood the way you would want yours to be treated. Please do not allow this construction to move forward. Even a 6-story building will bring significant construction noise and increased traffic congestion,
30 seconds.
disrupting the lives of those who already live here. What this area truly needs is a well-designed park, a place for residents, families, and long-term care patients to safely enjoy the outdoors. Thank you.
I'll look for the next speaker. I'll ask the clerk if there's anyone online. I don't see anyone else wishing to address the committee, so I'll look for a motion to close PPM. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lewis. And we'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, I'll open this item up for committee members. Deputy, or Councillor Plaza.
Like Deputy Budget
Budget
Chair,
Chair.
just throwing some
Council-
stuff out.
Budget Chair Plaza.
Mr. Chair, if I still have some questions of staff, would you entertain those first? You're looking for a motion. I understand proper procedure, just this one has.
You know what, this is committee. Let Councillor Hillier do the same. I'll permit questions before you'd like to entertain a motion.
Okay, thank you. And just thank you to staff for the report, for the presenters and those who came out in person or virtually to raise their concerns. A question through you to staff, as this application or the site property has come several times. Originally, it was 5 stories and 72 units. Current approval is 6 stories with 124 units, and there was 4 one-bedroom affordable units at the time because bonusing was in play. It's no longer in play. They're asking for 10 currently, and staff's recommendation is refusal. Just aware that there is a council-directed height review as well in play that's not back yet. Just looking to see if that was in play or what would be contemplated should that have been in effect.
I'll go staff.
Through the chair, thank you for the question. So staff did consider the council adopted heights review through the review of this application, recognizing that's not currently in force and effect, but is council adopted. These lands would be contemplated for a maximum of 6 stories.
Go to Councillor Plaza.
Sorry, just to clarify, was it 6 stories?
I'll go to staff.
Through the chair, my correction, it's 8 stories. Sorry, through the chair, it is in fact 6 stories. I was correct the first time, thanks.
Councillor.
Sorry, I just saw some consultation still happening, and just making sure that the 6 was where we're at. And just through you, I believe the report said that if the developer at this time wanted to build with 6, that the 4 units of affordable housing would not be enforceable as bonusing is left, and 6 would actually be permissible under our current plans.
I'll go to staff.
Through the chair, if we were to receive an application to remove the bonus zone, staff does not have a policy framework or a legal framework to refuse that request.
Councillor.
Thank you. Was just grateful for the clarification. I wasn't sure if the height review would allow 8 on the subject lands or if it would still been at 6, and it looks like it's still at the 6. I appreciate the conversation. Also, thank you to the applicant for having reached out beforehand. at this time, having the staff's information of that the current, even under the height review, it would still be 6 stories and not 8 stories, I would move the staff recommendation.
Okay, we have the staff recommendation on the floor. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Hillier. I'll open the floor for debate, comments or questions. Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Thank you, Chair. So through you, I see we have other motions in eScribe, so I'm not sure where those came from. So I'm a little confused because we've got the original and then we've got a couple of others. There's no movers or seconders, so nothing was circulated in advance. So I'm not sure where those are coming from. So I'm wondering first if there's any indication on that, because I do think, as we heard from Civic at the beginning, we are in a bit of a unique situation here. The rail lands, the fact that this is a phase 2 of an overall development, and the fact that the applicant has already actually transferred some lands to the city as open space. So while we hear the objections to lack of open space, part of that is a result of land transfers that have already happened. And I recognize that the earlier iteration had a triangle of land to be acquired from CP. I understand CP is now withdrawn from that. They've changed their corporate policies. And of course, we all know that in Canada, the power of authority goes God, the railways, then the Prime Minister. So the railways will be as they are. But I'm wondering if I can get some clarification. I understand Councillor Ploz is saying their staff recommendation is being moved, but there are 5 motions in eScribe. And I'm not sure where motions
Deputy Mayor,
5 are coming from.
I'll allow the clerk to explain that.
Sorry, that was just my error. If you refresh now, they've been removed.
Deputy Mayor.
So I appreciate that they've been removed from eScribe. But actually that, and that's not on the clerk, but Chair, I'd like to know where they came from, because I may have entertained moving those, but nothing was circulated in advance of this meeting, and yet alternate motions were submitted in eScribe. So I'm not prepared to support the staff recommendation without knowing why we had some alternate motions here that have now been removed.
Go ahead, clerk.
I was just prepping. They were provided in the added as part of the civic planning and design package. I was just prepping. My apologies.
Deputy Mayor.
No, that's okay. I appreciate that. I do like when there are options available to us, so I just was not sure where those had come from. So I'm going to say I'm not sure where I'm going to go on this, because I think that this is actually a location where when you look at the 2 phases together, the density is not over intensification. I think we have to look at the 2 phases together. That was how it was always presented, and that's how it was brought forward to us. You know, I heard resident concerns. I heard a comment about 220 signatures on a petition. Quite frankly, with all due respect to the speaker, when I see signatures on a petition that come from places like the Bronx, Hawaii, Brampton, Burlington, for an application for a development in London, that undermines the validity of the petition to me, and I don't weigh that in terms of my factor and decision making. A petition should be from the residents of the neighborhood, not from residents of other countries or other cities. And so I certainly, you know, for my decision-making purposes, I dismiss the petition. It's not going to have relevance to me when it's got signatures from abroad like that. And there is a 36-meter road width here.
People are staying on vacation during winter
Please,
time. Why do you dismiss it?
Well, I'll ask you to turn off your mic, please. I apologize, Deputy Mayor, we've stopped that. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. You know, I've heard people say build a park on it. It's not our land. It's not the city's land. It's privately owned. The city builds parks on public land, not on private land. Sarnia Road here is a civic boulevard classification. It has 14,000 vehicles a day on it. To say that the addition of 91 vehicles to 14,000 is going to be over-intensification, I don't frankly hold to that as well. I don't think when you add, even double it, even call it 180 vehicle trips per day on a road of 14,000 vehicle trips per day, I don't think that that's anything that we as human beings can notice as a significant change in traffic pattern. So there we are. I don't think that we are, I think we need to look at this application as the whole in terms of the Phase 1 and Phase 2 developments. And I don't feel like the staff recommendation that's before us today has fully considered the intensification across the distance of the two sites combined. So I'm not going to support the staff recommendation, and if that's defeated, I'm going to ask the clerk if she can send me those other two drafts that she had, because I will review those now and see if I want to move one of those instead if this is defeated.
Okay, I'll look for other speakers. Councilor Pelosi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess one's a point of personal privilege, and then I'll speak. I would say some of us do council work behind the scenes. Sometimes we circulate things, sometimes we wait to committees to see where the conversation's going. I did not get a chance to see what was loaded in eScribe. One of them very well might have been mine, which was not for committee's consumption at this time. So I'm asking that they're not circulated at this time. Mr. Chair, just make sure that they're not going to be circulated. Should one have been mine, since I didn't get to see what was loaded?
I'm sorry, what are you asking, Councilor?
Deputy Mayor Lewis is saying things were loaded in eScribe before. That isn't what was moved. He's asking that they're circulated. I'm saying one of them might have been mine, which I didn't move publicly.
Right.
And he's asking that he get a copy of what was in eScribe. I don't know what it was, and I'm saying if it's mine, I'm not giving permission for my potential motion to be circulated.
I'll go to the clerk.
No, it wasn't anything to deal with yours. As mentioned, it was just from the package provided from the civic planning and design added.
Councilor.
Thank you. My question to staff, also having followed along Deputy Mayor Lewis's train of thought of Phase 1, Phase 2, the entire subject property, as we had a similar property at the prior circulation of PEC with the York development property that had commercial and residential, had reached out to staff thinking that might be the way forward. Staff had indicated that time that their concern was more the height concern and not so much the units per hectare, just looking to see if that is accurate.
Go to staff.
Through the chair, that is correct. Staff's primary concern lies with the fit and compatibility of this 10-story building height that's proposed, as well as how it fits within the policy framework that applies to the site. Thanks.
Councilor.
Thank you. And that was, had tried to find the way forward, thinking this area might have been 8 stories with the height review and not still the 6. Had tried to take in consideration the entire per unit hectare thought and contemplation to see if that was staff's main concern, which it wasn't, realizing as laid out in other people's comments that it does back onto the tracks, it does back onto a road. They already own the property next door, and they are their own neighboring businesses, and was trying to find a way to come to terms with that. So that's why I moved staff's recommendation, just for that colleagues know I did follow that thought path of trying to find the way to yes, and I was not at this time able to get there.
Other comments? I'll ask the Vice Chair to take the chair, please.
Go ahead, Councillor Lehman, I have the chair.
Thank you. So, yeah, this is my ward at the very top end. I'd just like to, I want to address some of the things that I heard. One that was, I found a little disturbing, it benefits the developer. You know who it benefits? It benefits those that are looking for housing. We had a person speak to that today. London is in desperate need for more housing. It's great if we all are living in our apartments or our homes, but there are many that do not, and until they're built, they will not. So who does it benefit? It benefits those that are looking for housing. As far as where this is located, this is actually an interesting site because there's a pathway, a city design pathway behind A11, and also will continue up behind this particular development that will allow accessibility both on foot and by bike down to the strip mall down at the corner of Hyde Park and Sarnia, where there is a grocery store that's going to be going there. So it's kind of where, and we're trying to get to in the London plan as far as, way to access commercial spaces without taking your car. There is bus stops direct to the Western and downtown along Sarnia. As was said by the Deputy Mayor, this is not a public park. This will be developed. There will be a building there. Yeah, it is zoned for 6 stories right now. So it would be higher than the retirement home. What does concern me though is the height. Quite frankly, as was mentioned, there's no other. The highest building on Sarnia, that stretch of Sarnia, is 4 stories, which is across the street. And right beside it, it's 2-story townhomes. So to have a 10-story behind, right beside a 2-story, I understand the concerns expressed by the residents of those properties there. The train tracks behind, well, that's, that's up to those that want to rent in that building. I lived in an apartment right beside train tracks, so I fully understand the noise and vibration. But again, that's not, that's up to the person that owns that site and who's renting. But at the end of the day, I can't get over going from 6 to 10. That just seems to be, for me, too big an increase here, and too much of a, there's not enough of a set down to the 2-story right across. So I will be supporting this motion. I'll look for other speakers. Okay, we have a motion moved and seconded. I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 4-1.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to 3.8. This is regarding our official plan review of the London Plan, regarding a draft industrial needs assessment. So I will look for a motion to open the public participation meeting. Councillor Hillier, seconded by Councillor Cuddy.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. I'll look for people rushing up to the mic. Mike, at the mic. Mr. Wallace, please give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Mike Wallace. I'm the Executive Director for the London Development Institute. Thank you for having me here today. I won't be terribly long. We are in support of the recommendations that are in front of us here for this application, well, not this application, but for the review, for the needs assessment for industrial land. Just so you know, actually, I'm here often on residential items, but LDI members there are a few that are also have some industrial land and are major landowners in town that you never know could have industrial land. Our main issue, to be frank with you, on this is that we will be actively involved in number C. Item C talks about the possible land use redesignations. And if you look at the charts at the back, which we haven't got completely through, but we will during this consultation process, there's a number of hectares of industrial lands they're saying are either ineligible or underutilized or vacant. Or there's a number of categories, and one of the unsuitable pieces say that it's adjacent to residential. We're going to go through this with a fine-tooth comb to see which properties are in reality have the potential to be residential and ones that, realistically, there's not a hope in heck that anybody would ever develop on it. And just so you know, so that might mean some land will be stranded, if you want to use it that way. But having no lack of readily available sewer and water infrastructure for industrial applies also to residential. So just because the report talks about a couple hundred hectares, very little of it, based on our preliminary review, has the potential to be converted to residential. But we know this is just start of the process. We just want to be on the record that we'd be happily, as a development or organization, involved in reviewing that and providing information to staff and to you, councillors, going forward on this industrial land review. Thank you.
Thank you. Look for other speakers to this.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Pratt. I'm here on behalf of Arcadis Professional Services, and we're representing Dancor. Dancor owns a majority of a lot of properties within the City of London for industrial development. Some are already developed, and some are coming forward for applications in the near future. There's two in particular that are noted within the report that's in front of you today, and we have similar concerns that Mike mentioned too with that adjacent residential uses, as well as the ineligible criteria. The two properties in particular are 2728 Dundas Street, which is located on map 3, parcel ID number 176. The entirety of this parcel is noted as unsuitable because of the adjacent residential development, and Dancor has been working to do the technical studies to develop this parcel in the near future, and we think that there is a suitable buffer that can be maintained, and a portion of this property can move forward for industrial development. The second parcel is at 1766 Wilton Grove Road, which is shown on map 9, with parcel IDs ranging from 377 to 382. It is noted as ineligible for hazard and heritage concerns, and Dancor has done technical studies and will be submitting those in the future through planning applications to move forward with this land as industrial development. So just want to make sure that those are considered, and we'll be contacting staff directly to make sure that that's maintained in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Look for the next speaker. Please, sir, give us your name. You have 5 minutes.
Sean Ford with Dancor. I want to thank council and staff for undertaking the review and finally focusing on sort of those lands that can't be developed or used going forward, and other parts of the city that need to be developed for industrial. We're in desperate need of more lands, looking at a 30-year horizon, not a 5-year or 10-year. There's lots of change to come very, very soon. And we need more spaces, we need more industrial sites so we can create more jobs and bring the kind of jobs and professions to the city that everyone's looking for. So again, thank you both the council and staff for undertaking the review. It's been thorough, it's been over a year, and we're looking forward to participating. Thank you.
Thank you. Look for the next speaker. Yeah, please go to the mic if you would like to address the committee. Please, sir, give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Sarabjit Ra. I'm on behalf of owner for 1741 Wilton Grove Road, next to Maple Lodge. And we didn't hire any planner, city planner. We were looking for that, and in the meantime, we just noticed that the rezoning applications are to be taken. If we will have time, we'll come up with application request, and that way we want to request that our 1741 should be considered under industrial or light industrial something. We have a plan to bring a truck driving school, as it's called, private career colleges. And plus, we want to bring their self-storage, which could be like 100,000, 150,000 square foot. It could be 1 story, 2 story, doesn't matter. We just want to request that if it could be considered as in the industrial area. So it is appropriate located. It is close to 401 Highbury intersection. So if we will have time, we'll check with the staff. If they allow us to, we'll bring an application as well. Thank you so much for your help. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll look for the next speaker. I understand we have Kathy online. Please, Kathy, you can go ahead. You have 5 minutes. Kathy, if you're online, you're up. You have 5 minutes. I'll look, while we're waiting for Kathy online, I'll look, just make sure there's no one else in the gallery who'd like to address the committee. I don't see anyone. One more time, I'll ask for Kathy to address the committee online.
I have no comments at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask clerk if there's anyone else online. No. Okay. Seeing no one else. Oh, so, sorry, sir. You already had your. But you didn't use up your full 5 minutes, so I'll let you do.
Just a minute. I forgot to, if you allow.
Yeah, you have 1 more minute left.
Yep. Actually, in our knowledge, the usable land would be less than 15 acres, and the rest of the land we are willing to donate to Town of London if they want to do any park, any recreation or something to, use it for their own. So that was our consideration.
Okay.
Appreciate
Thank you. What I suggest you do is you speak directly to staff after this meeting on those details.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other speakers? I'll look for motion to close the PPM. Councillor Cuddy, second by Councillor. We'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, so I'll put this on the floor for committee members for questions or comments. Councillor Hillier.
Just a comment, as the councillor with the largest land area that really takes advantage of this employable needs, I appreciate this coming forward, and I really look forward to seeing the analysis from our building community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other, Councillor Pribble?
Thank you, through the chair to the staff. I actually had quite a few questions, but then I found 4.0 next steps, which actually answered quite a few of them. But I did want to ask, all the points there, they have certain deadlines, quarters and years. But then below, which we actually heard, review ineligible and unsuitable industrial lands and make recommendations on appropriate redesignation or identified lands. Can you please tell me kind of how is that part going to fit into the other parts? Because I believe that we are going to be submitting one OPA to the province, which is going to include the industrial as well urban growth boundary. But I just want to know timing of this part. Thank you.
Go to staff.
Through you, Chair. So no timing was identified because we didn't yet have direction to do that. With changes to the PPS, the change from an industrial to non-industrial use is no longer required to be as part of a comprehensive review. It can be a future phase of the official plan review and could be based on staff work plans and estimating end of this year or into early next year. It wouldn't change the timing of the rest of the processes or the rest of the land needs assessment, because the community growth side, the non-industrial side, has already been completed and there is an identified need already. And then the industrial one, we would factor it in, but the redesignations wouldn't necessarily change the magnitude, because it's not the quantity of land, it's the actual qualitative issues around the sort of servicing or the suitability and hazards and locational criteria and size. So it may factor in slightly, but it's more, those are the lands we've identified, and it would be something that could be added as a future phase of the official plan review.
Councillor?
Thank you. So going back to it, some of the unsuitable land was designated because of not services being there. But if it's not qualified for industrial, then of course it won't be for residential either. So I'm just thinking, if we are going with right now Q4 2025 to have everything together, are we potentially missing some opportunities if we don't visit some of these areas, parcels prior to that?
Go staff.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So it would be a site-by-site evaluation of those lands to see whether or not their locational criteria or the reasons for the suitability would change, or just because there's a certain site condition that makes it so that it is not something the industrial developers are seeking to develop, it may not necessarily permit based on its surrounding uses or its site conditions. It may not actually change to another land use. So what we're seeking is the direction to evaluate the potential for redesignations and then bring back whatever list that could be offered based on the site-by-site evaluation as we go around the map and work with landowners. So no change to designation is being proposed for any of those ones that are identified in the appendix in this report right now.
I'm going to go to Ms. McNeely as well.
Thank you, through the chair. It also doesn't stop anyone from making a site-specific application for an official plan amendment.
Councillor?
Thank you very much. No more questions.
Look for other comments, questions. I'm looking for a motion to receive. Can I get that motion? Councillor Hillier?
I will move the staff recommendation.
Okay, thank you. And seconded by Councillor Cuddy. Any further comments or questions? If the committee will permit me, I'll just briefly, oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, I'm going to hopefully be really brief here. Support what's in the staff report. The 88 hectares of the deficiency we need to find. The ineligible lands did raise some questions for me too, and really what it comes down to for me is in the evaluation of these, and noting some of them aren't going to be eligible for residential development either. The 88 hectares that have been identified so far, as you're reviewing these, the ineligible lands, is there the potential that this number may change 5 hectares, 10 hectares along the way as these evaluations happen? Whether the ineligible lands actually upon review are deemed that they could be developed for certain industrial uses, or that in fact perhaps there's even more that's not suitable. I mean, we've heard a couple of applicants or a couple of participants from the public today say they feel like part of their land can be, but that a part of it may be need to be retained for buffer and would not be eligible. So we're starting from this point. But I just want to ask this now to be really clear. This number has the potential, probably not by a lot, but has the potential to change a little bit as we work through these details.
You'll go, staff.
Mr. Chair, that is possible once we do a review in consultation with our development colleagues. This is the first time they've had an opportunity to review this as well, and we haven't had those consultations. I should also note that there is the simultaneous review through the province of that one specific parcel, and that could also change our numbers as well if they both sides agree that this is a parcel that should be a candidate into the urban growth boundary.
Deputy Mayor?
That's all my questions. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from committee members? if the committee will permit me, just a quick question. We have an industrial land bank strategy at the city. How does this report impact that?
So there's the industrial land development strategy that recommends that the city maintain 200 hectares of serviced land. So right now our inventory is still pretty strong, but what this is, it potentially allows the urban growth boundary for not necessarily the city's inventory of land, like this corporation, but I mean the city of London as a whole. So once lands are added to the urban growth boundary, we do have the option to purchase it then and then add it to the city's inventory of our own. When I'm using the city of the corporation and the city of the geography, but it'll allow the corporation to add more inventory to its land if there's a deficiency at that time.
Okay, great. What struck me about this report is the amount of industrial land, 468 hectares, that are deemed to be unsuitable or ineligible. I mean, that's significant, and I think it's surprising that it's that large, but at least we know it and identified it. So we're under no illusions of what we actually have available. And that's the biggest thing that jumps out at me in this report. This is a very significant exercise. We've done our urban growth strategy for residential. But this is for the future of London as far as providing economic prosperity for Londoners. And having the resources to offer various enterprises considering coming to London and having the land ready to go. I think doing this exercise will give us opportunities for the decades to come. So just as important on the residential side, this is equally important. So terrific to see this in front of us. And thank you for the work on this. So looking for any other further comments. We have motion moved and seconded. I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, moving on. We are now into items for direction 4.1 with the planning fees and review recommendations. So we have a delegation request from Mr. Wallace. So I'll look for a motion to accept that. Councillor Hillier, seconded by Councillor Kadim. We'll call that vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Ooh. Thank you. We'll go to you, Mr. Wallace. You have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's Mike Wallace again from LDI. I'm glad you're all sitting down because this report's about increasing fees, and LDI is here to say that we are in support of the recommendations in front of us. So let me just point out a couple of things, Mr. Chair, is that if you look at under 2.2, the actual increase in the subdivision fee is 29%. And listen, we want to thank staff for their very active, involved consultation process with the industry on this. It is, development fees hadn't been reviewed for a little while. It's a contentious issue within our industry. We appreciate what Watson has done, and we appreciate that under staff direction, they asked Watson to go back and look at comparatives that were actually local comparatives, not just stuff like the city of Barrie and so on. And if you really look at the charts, London is in the middle, but our real competitors, people, my members who own land in these other areas where they can develop, it's cheaper to develop there with using the development fee issue. Just so you know, this takes us to the 30% target on subdivisions, which council has approved, and we can't really argue with it. Council approved it, and we're getting there. We do appreciate staff's approach that this is almost a 29% increase. They're going to do it over 2 phases, which is great. A phase-in, 2-year phase-in is appropriate. We are fully supportive of the audit that is also in the recommendation, to making sure that the fees that we are told that that the background that make up the fees is accurate. We saw some numbers that it raised a few eyebrows, and we weren't sure that's accurate. So staff said, well, let's do an audit, an operational audit, and make sure it's right. We're happily, as an industry, to provide information and support to the auditor of this, and through that audit to make sure that we're all on the same page and have a clear understanding of what things actually cost us. So overall, we're supportive of the report, or recognize the report. I don't know if supportive is the right word. And we do appreciate the phase-in approach, especially on the subdivision increase, fee increase. But just to give you like one final understanding of costs. So this is a real example. Oh shoot, I thought I'd turn this off. Anyways, it's off now. A townhouse that's selling for $579, 3 stories, 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, nice place. The DCs are over $27,000 for that unit. The permit fees are over $2,000 for that permit. And Parkland's about $2,200. Site plan applications over $5,000. Let's assume there's a ZBA, as you're seeing, based on the need to do rezoning, rethink rezoning. A ZBA is around 16 grand. The fees themselves, the fees I just represent about 6 to 9%, just depends on the property, of the cost of that particular house. So every time we are here talking about, the affordability and cost, like these are real costs that the consumers, the buyer of this house is paying for. And so we are here in favor of, in support of what the staff are recommending, but we just want council to be aware that every fee counts, every dollar goes to affordability, and we appreciate the support that this council and staff have provided over the last couple of years on trying to improve the system to try to keep fees in line and make applications move faster. Everybody on all 3 legs of this stool are working hard on that, the industry, the staff, and on council, and we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I'll look for our committee to either make a motion or Deputy Mayor Lewis.
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Seconded by Councillor Hillier. Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Yeah, I just want to take the opportunity to recognize or to comment. I appreciate Mr. Wallace's comments about the fees. I think it's also worth saying that here in London, those DC fees, while they do add to the cost of a new apartment or a new home, would otherwise be borne by the taxpayers who've already paid those fees for their own home or apartment. We're not, and I recognize that it is an affordability component. Absolutely. And I say that every time people say, well, where's the affordable housing? Well, these costs matter. Time is also money. I recognize that. And so delays add to costs as well. I'm aware that has an impact on affordability. But I think from a DC perspective, and from the fees and charges that we levy, we have to recover the cost of our staff time and work as well. And we have to recover the costs of the infrastructure that goes into supporting new housing, whether it's infill or green space growth. And so I do appreciate the comments. I recognize that there's an impact on affordability. But I will say that the alternative to that is higher property taxes for people who've already paid their share in the development of their own buildings. And so for me, I think we're still working primarily on a growth pays for growth sort of approach to things. And I think that that's a responsible way to go. So I support the work. And I would echo also what Mr. Wallace said about all three legs of the stool. I think staff are working very hard to move things through, bring reports for us. I think this council in particular, has been very supportive of growing the city in the way that we need to grow to support housing, as well as jobs and economic opportunity for folks. And I think the industry has been a great partner as well. I think we've come a long way from the days when there was animosity and conflict, and we had members of council who may have thought that the word developer was a dirty word. I think that we recognize we don't build this city by ourselves. We build it with our partners in cooperation with our staff and with each other and with you. We're not always going to agree on everything, and that's okay. That's a healthy democracy. That includes the members of this committee. That includes, you know, sometimes council exceeds where staff want to go to, and we don't always necessarily agree with the staff evaluation. But everybody is rowing in the same direction, and so I appreciate the work that went into this report, because I think it leads to a responsible fiscal policy to keep that ship rowing in the same direction for everyone.
Thank you. I'll go to Councilor Pribble.
Thank you, through the chair, to the staff. When I went through the Watson report and when I look at the different figures, there are numerous municipalities and also the one that are close to us, except the last one, which says 4.5 planning and engineering fee subdivision draft plan. And there is kind of nothing around us. Then I read the paragraph above, and it states that they did not include in-house municipalities that don't include the engineering in-house departments. Can you please explain it to me? Or if they don't have the in-house, how does it work in the municipalities surrounding us?
Mr. Mathers.
Through the chair. So with the smaller municipalities, they won't have like staff teams to be able to do that work on a day-to-day basis. What they'll do is they'll hire a consulting engineering company to be their engineer on record to do that review and then provide those comments back to the development industry. And then that charge would then be on a application by application basis will be charged back to the developer. So it will be very much specific to whatever type of subdivision is being developer contemplated.
Councilor.
Thank you. No more questions.
Other comments or questions from committee members? If the committee room allow me a couple comments from the chair. You know, I understand what Mr. Wallace is saying. Eventually, the homeowner bears the cost at the end of the day. And for that reason, we have to, you know, I think we're governed by the competition, quite frankly, you know, what surrounding areas, and for sure it's surrounding areas. As Mr. Wallace said, it's not Barrie, it's, you know, it's what we're dealing with locally. And so I was happy to hear that, you know, about the audit. I'm happy to hear about the involvement with our developers associations in there, which we continue to do, which is terrific. That partnership is bearing fruit. We're working together, as Deputy Mayor said, not at loggerheads. We're working together to find solutions. But I will say this to the development community. We answered serious concerns about various aspects of our processing, turnaround times, et cetera, service. Nothing comes for free. I get it. We have to be as efficient as possible. But on the other hand, in providing better service, it comes at a cost. That cost is mitigated for sure by what I just described as competitive aspects and obviously affordability. So we have made great strides in that. Coming to next PEC will be a report from the Canadian Home Builders Association, which I think will highlight the progress that our planning folks have made. The other comment made by Deputy Mayor, which it's a balance thing. What burden is placed on our property taxpayers and what burden is placed on the person purchasing or renting the new home. that has to be in balance, as we grow. We know the property tax base has been under tremendous pressure over the last few years, so that we're highly aware of that. So, there's no perfect solution. Nothing comes for free. There is a cost. We have to be efficient as possible, work expeditiously in doing our job quickly to get our development community putting shovels in the ground. And I think we've landed at that point here, so thank you for this. Any other comments or questions before I call the vote? Seeing none, we'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
All right, we're just on the deferred matters, 4.2. I'll look for a motion to receive that. Deputy Mayor Lewis, seconded by Councillor Cuddy. Any comments or questions? We'll call the vote.
Councillor Plaza. Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
We have no deferred matters. Just look for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Cuddy, second by Deputy Mayor Lewis. All in favor, hand vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you, folks. We're done.